nothing before. You're living like a life that I think a lot of coaches, when they grow up, they would love that. Actually, just having your own project, having a project that's near to NBA, having a project in your basically hometown. How does that come? Like, I think a lot of coaches that are 14 and trying to develop in something like that, they just dream about it. How was your journey there? Like, when have you started coaching? How did it involve?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, I'm definitely really grateful to be doing this. And I think something that I've been very intentional about is I don't want to just coach in the system of the way things are now. And that's actually why I'm not full time in one place coaching, because I believe it would actually weigh me down unless it was the right environment, unless there was an NBA team that's ready to go all in, completely 100% CLA. I'll do it. And it's the same in Europe. But I think that's not going to happen anytime soon. I don't think. Maybe
30 emails, easy peasy.
It could be one GM, one head coach who wants to do it, and that's all it needs. But until that happens, I'm not going to weigh myself down one place, because what I see, Ferdi, is just it stifles creativity. When you are in the system, the traditional systems, the way things are now in basketball, and you can't zoom out and do your own thing, you just end up getting bogged down by tradition and how things have always been done. So that's why when I did college prep, I purposefully did my own thing instead of like being an assistant coach for a pro team like in Europe full time. I wanted to do my own thing, get the experience as a head coach, and actually do things with the way that I envision it should be done based on science. And, not just in coaching, but applying it to athletic performance analysis, nutrition, all these areas through the CLA. So I started coaching when I was 15, and I actually started a club, my own club at that age here in Guildford. And it was just an under 12s and under 14s club at the time, because I was 15. And then it really grew, and it actually became, by the time I was 17, we were one of the best youth clubs in England. We had like 10 national team kids. Now the level, and I can say this because I'm English, the level was really low, even of the national team. It still is. And I say that as the director of methodology for the London Lions. But that's why I did this job, to try and change things in England and actually show, what we can create when we have good processes in place. So ever since then, I've just been completely, I'm trying to think of a word to use. I would say completely passionate and intentional about learning. And that's really been the game changer for me, because it's just, I knew that growing up in England, I could never, quote unquote, make it if I was just a normal coach and I did the same that everyone else did. So I knew I had to have something very different. And then I was always interested in learning and trying to add things that I was reading about in books online to my coaching. So naturally, I think when I did discover ecological dynamics about 5 years ago, it was a really good match. And, I'd have achieved some success before that because I was working for the NBA League office at the time. But it changed everything for me, because I realized, wow, we can actually apply science to how we coach. And I'm not talking about, like pop science, something we might read in like some random book, but a rigorous theoretical framework. We can actually take that and apply that into coaching. So that's, ever since then, I've just been obsessed with taking an ecological approach, learning about the theory, applying it to basketball. And really over the last year, a lot of work in other sports too. I think, people have seen what I've done in basketball, and they realize that the same concepts you can easily apply in any sport, and especially the team sports, it's even easier. And that's where I'm at now, guys. So using Transforming as a vehicle to share my ideas, my continuous growth, and that never stops. So that's what I love the most about London. We're doing something new every day. I can go to a practice, and I'm constantly constantly coming up with new ideas, and then Transforming is my vehicle to share those. So that's my background in a nutshell.
I have a critical question. I mean, I completely get your point that those traditional barriers are hard to overcome, and they are also really tiring. I mean, many people, I think, stop doing what they love because of those barriers.
That's it.
I mean, that can be seen in pretty much a Sunday league club, pretty much to Premier League or NBA. It doesn't matter what sport or what environment it is. But my question is, if you say about transformation and transforming things, don't you think that you have to fight that battle at some point? Like it will happen.
Yes.
I mean, the thing about what I imagine is that the moment UK basketball will reach a certain level, the Olympic Federation will have their say, the government will have their say, all of those kind of things will happen, and then tradition will be there, and tradition will be kind of like an obstacle. So my question is it more choosing the right battles to fight, or is it something at that point you have to move on and somebody else has to do it? What is your kind of like forecast?
I think so, and I think too it's like with transforming, the idea behind it is that we are giving coaches and practitioners in any role, whether they're a strength coach, an athletic performance trainer, a physio, whatever. The idea is that we are giving them ideas for how to transform their own environments, and that's kind of how I envisioned it. So, I call it Maya, most advanced yet acceptable. So what are the biggest things that you could start to do in your own environment, whether that's a professional team, a youth club, whatever? What could you do to start changing things and, shift towards a contemporary approach from the dominant approach? And that's really everything I'm trying to do. And I just feel like personally, I feel like I can do that more in my role through transforming than if I was maybe full-time right now, working with a team. And that might change in the future, like I said, if a team goes all in. But I think it's really difficult then, because a lot of what we see in sport is based on, it's called path dependency, and it's what that is just the way things have always been done. So basically, ideas, drills, systems of play, they all emerge just really based on tradition and opinion and what we've seen before, as opposed to really asking the question, is there a better way? Or can we do this alternatively? What else could this look like? What would it mean? What would it look like on the practice court? So to eclipse path dependency, I think we have to sometimes zoom out. And I think this is why for coaches in like youth teams, pro teams, it's so important to just have a self-awareness of, what is going on and how could we do this differently? What could that look like? And then, how could we have conversations internally to try and inspire this change? But it's a huge topic. And I know, it's not just basketball, it's every sport where a huge form of inertia exists, where even what I'm seeing a lot now is people are aware that there's something going on here. And maybe they've heard about the work I'm doing. Maybe they've listened to a podcast. But then it's a completely other thing actually trying to do it. And that's why every kind of thing I do, I just say to coaches, practitioners, just try. Like you've got to, if you're inspired by some of these ideas, you have to start doing small things immediately. Even if it's just you're taking one drill in your practice and trying to turn it into more, of a live practice activity where it's more variable, that's a huge start.